hello. Hi. Welcome. Hi, Washington. Hi, Ty White. Congrats on first. Hello, Wooden Hooligan. It's nice to see you all. We are starting our episode of Streamer Strategies. Today, we will be talking about on camera confidence, your camera presence. As a broadcaster, sometimes it can be a little bit nerve-wracking being in front of the camera, or if you want to get into hosting or being on a panel or anything like that. Those are all integral parts of being an entertainer or a presence in what we do, especially if you're taking this from sorry, hold on. I'm experiencing some technical difficulties. There we go. Especially if you are taking this from hobby to maybe something a little bit more professional. So I have some incredible people that will be here hanging out with us today and sharing their expertise and their insight and knowledge on being on camera. Hi, it's so wonderful to see you today. I hope you all are having a great day. Bobby is here too. She's ready to learn. Although she doesn't really need many tips about working the camera. I mean, she already works the camera pretty easily. You know what I'm saying? So today I have the incredibly talented Okadrian and Nostalgia Alchemist, also known as Jeremy. Meg Kaylee was going to be on the show today, but she has to take care of some personal things. Couldn't make it, but that's okay. I highly, highly, highly encourage you to give Meg Kaylee a follow because she's incredible. I have learned so much from her. Amazing host. She's like so good at writing like a run of show and telling a story on camera and taking, command of the space and just being a really awesome storyteller and amazing human being. So please go and give Meg Kaylee a follow. And I'm sure we'll get to work on another episode with her soon. But yeah, I want to introduce you to Okadrian and Jeremy. So I'm going to bring them on stage with us. Hey y'all, how's it going?
Hello.
Hello. It is so nice to see you all today. How's your day? How's it going?
It's good. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Ash, for this opportunity. And Adrian and I got to meet just less than an hour ago, and we've already had some great conversations. So thank you again so much. And it's nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing us together. It's a good occasion.
Yeah, I am so excited. Y'all have done tons of like on-camera work or stage work and stuff. So for anybody out there who doesn't know who you are, I would love it if you could introduce yourself, tell them a little bit about what you do, maybe on your stream or in your career. We're going to go with Adrian and then we'll go with Jeremy. So just let the audience know a little bit about who you are.
For sure. My name is Adrian. I go by the alias of Okadrian in all matters of hosting, interviewing, ring announcing, and also on Twitch. I have been on Twitch since 2014. I've been a Twitch partner since 2015, and I've been a Twitch ambassador since 2021, I want to say. And it's been an interesting ride all the way through. I started my first hosting gig back in 2016. I was doing PAX South, and that's a very interesting introduction story. I don't know if I want to get into it right now because it'd be a little lengthy, but that was my first foray into hosting and interviewing. And like anything else, it was a skill that was developed over time, having a nuance of how I think it went, and then slowly learning how it does actually go along the way. And it went a long way, being surrounded by great talent and the right people to put me in the right situations to do as well as I could for myself and for the audiences and for the stories that I like to tell along the way. And the great part about it is that in this space, it has allowed me to encroach in other territories, to do shoutcasting, to do the interviews, to do the pro wrestling ring announcing. There's a lot of overlap between the abilities, but there's also a respect of just learning what's different about each one. And I'm just happy to be surrounded by so much great talent and just being here on the show.
Oh my Thank you, Adrian. That was really wonderful. I got so many questions for you later on about all of the things that you listed off and just like how you work and do the things that you do on your broadcast as well. So thank you for that. And Jeremy, please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Well, my name is Jeremy. I am also a SAG-AFTRA union actor, so my name is Jeremy Lardiri. I am here on the internet as the Nostalgia Alchemist, and my tagline here on the internet is that I'm always here for whenever you remember why. I was very fortunate, very young, to be able to have my great parents, my mother and father, get me into dance classes. Tap dance is my favorite thing to do in the whole world, and I carried that all the way through to my adult years. I went to LaGuardia High School, the famed school for acting, and I went to the now unfortunately defunct University of the Arts in Philadelphia for musical theater. So a lot of my training was built for the stage. And throughout my, I guess, semi-pro career on the stage, I was able to have a lot of opportunities to work with avant-garde theater, also working with a full orchestra down with the Ocean City Theater Company in New Jersey, where I happened to meet my wife, and now we have 2 children together. And I found online entertainment just before the pandemic hit in 2020. Around 2019, I started to dabble in an old brand, if you will, with doing podcasting and then going into YouTube and then Twitch. And after a while, I understood that there's a lot more interpersonal connection that I could make. So I became the Nostalgia Alchemist. And it kind of meshes a little bit of everything that I love: retro, modern, but overall storytelling. And I've been able to meet a bevy of wonderful people through this medium. And I'm so excited to be able to share things that I've learned transferring from stage over to the screen. And I'm really excited to be able to help people through that. So this is a wonderful opportunity that I've been presented through you, Ash, and also hearing Adrian's story. I'm really excited to get to know a little bit more about him and all the things that he's learned as well. And I'm just honored to be here. Thanks again.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, seriously. I think there's going to be so much value in understanding how your education as like on stage, like your on stage presence, informs what you do as a broadcaster, because they're very different. Like doing things live and then doing things on camera is very different, but I'm sure there's a lot of transferable skills. But all in all, like the biggest thing is like the confidence portion, right? You know what I mean? Like that, I feel like can very much inform how you feel, how you move, like how present you are with your audience and how you address the audience, or even like, how you envision the audience. So yeah, thank you for sharing. Also, I just want to say I've always wanted, when I was younger, I wanted to go to LaGuardia. Like I really wanted to go, but my mom wouldn't let me. She was like, "You're not taking the subway. What are you talking about?" Like
I think my father was a little reluctant because I was coming from Queens, but I think he acquiesced and said, "Nope, I'm gonna let him pursue his dream." So thanks, Dad.
Yeah, for real, for real.
Thanks,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's really supportive. I love both my parents. Great supportive people.
That's really awesome. Well, thank you for telling us a little bit about who you are and, what you have learned through your career and all the cool things that you have done. We're definitely going to get more into all of those little nuances later on. But the first question I have for you all is, what have you learned about being on camera as somebody who broadcasts to the internet, whether that's here on Twitch, YouTube, or wherever you have been filmed? What little things that you had to, learn and deal with and kind of like grow with you as you went along. So I'm going to go with Adrian and then Jeremy, and then, feel free to just get into the questions however you feel comfortable.
I would say when it comes to my focal point is mostly going to be on interviewing and hosting, and even the pro wrestling side of things for announcement. The one thing that I've noticed right away over the years is that everyone's watching everything. Like, if you watch The Bear, One of the things that's on the plaque is every second counts. And while the same thing is true with the voice work you're doing and the hosting interviewing process, every moment matters because every little detail is being watched. Like people, when they have all the time in the world to see you on camera, whether it's a single shot on you or a full wide shot, every nuance matters. The way you react, the way your eyes looked, the way you're asking the questions, where you look, your presence, your body posture. People will notice things like a tick. If you have like a nervous tick, like I used to have a nervous tick for a long time. It wasn't really nervous. It was like an anxious tick. So I was just happy to be there. Everything matters with the way it's being done on stage. And also, one of the things I learned too is how invaluable prep work is when going into all of this. To me, like that's the one thing that matters the most to me is I'm always going to do my due diligence and I'm always going to do prep work. If I'm interviewing someone for just 10 minutes, I'm going to do an hour of prep work minimum on that 10 minutes because you never know what's going to be utilized and you never know what's going to be useful, but you also never know what's going to be brought up. And so there's a lot of nuance, and I don't know if it's a thing we want to get into right now because it can be a little lengthy, but about the actual process of finding out what have they done recently, who have they spoken to, what questions have they been asked. But this is part of my process, and I've seen it for other people too as part of their process, but a lot of work goes into it. And one of the things I learned about being on camera is that process of, and I kind of knew this too heading into it, but you really see it. It's more than just going up on there and just talking, because that's what it feels like if you're not used to it. If you look at it and go, having the confidence to do it is great, but it's more than just sitting down and saying, okay, I can just talk to people. It is a great starting point to have because you should be able to talk to people if you want to do this. But having the ability to know how is the audience reacting, who is my audience, what story are we trying to tell, and also the importance of the event and the person you're speaking with and the event itself. Because sometimes you want to make it about you and your presence. You want to make it about the event, what's being spoken about, and how important that time is, that window, whether it's an hour or 15 minutes, that has to mean everything. And just not being your own worst critic, being able to give yourself a little grace too along the way. Because for me, I love looking back. I love watching my stuff just to get an idea of how things went, but not beat myself up over things that are correctable, and that I should take value in my victories and wins too along the way. It's not all negative review, it's positive too.
That is, oh my gosh, that is such good advice. I think it's easy for people to get caught up in, I did this weird thing on camera and now people are gonna like harp on it or they're never gonna forget it, and then it's gonna like, I can't live it down. But 9 times out of 10 people, they don't remember, and it's usually you're the one that's thinking about it. But also, I really love that you started talking about prep work and that every second counts, because it does. And I'm gonna have a follow-up question after Jeremy answers, but I'm really curious after this how you worked through maybe some of the things that you were like, oh, I have an anxious tick, or like, things like that. So, because I have my own, so I'm curious how you worked through that. But I'd love to hear Jeremy's answer for this question as well.
Sure. So just to make sure I have the question correct, what did I learn just in being on camera?
Yeah, being like because you come from somebody that was on stage. So being a broadcaster, whether you're on Twitch or wherever you are, that has a different set of skills. And as you went along your journey, I'm sure there were things for you to learn and get used to along the way. So did you have any moments like that?
I did. When I first started, I had to learn how to be my own executive producer. I had to learn how to be my own showrunner on the technical side. That was the first big hurdle that I had to get over. Learning how to use OBS, learning how to use the camera, how to adjust your microphone volume, how to make sure it doesn't pop or it doesn't crackle, how to focus your camera, what kind of a camera should I get? Am I going to be broadcasting continuously off of a Mac, or do I need to try and get a PC? How do I bring my stage subtlety down to a narrow film camera? That's pretty much the biggest hurdles that I had to get over when I first started. So subtlety was very crucial for me in learning how to connect with the camera after being on stage where everything is big and braggadocious and everything is super expressive. There's a lot to be told in a story of subtlety. So once all of the technical stuff was bypassed, then I had the ease and the comfortability of being able to connect more through the camera, being able to have a focal point for my audience. Um, Another big thing that I learned coming from the stage is how do I interlace everything that I've learned into creating a character of sorts? How do I bring myself up to 100% for everybody while still maintaining the stage energy? How do I bring all of that without it being too overly aggressive in its movement? A lot of that comes down to the simplicity of storytelling. So, without getting too far into that, because I think we're going to elaborate on this a little bit more later, but going off of what Adrian said, it's that luck favors the prepared, is what someone had always said to me. So, in that preparedness, the structure will set you free. And that is actually a quote from one of my favorite books called Backwards and Forwards by a guy named David Ball. And it's about how to read plays 3 different ways. So you read through it once for enjoyment, you read it through again with all of your notes as whoever the character you are in this play, or if you're the director, all of the things to look for, and then you read it backwards so that you understand that whole Trey Parker, Matt Stone thing of, therefore, but then, therefore, but then, and you work backwards through your prep, so that you are fully aware of everything that's around you. What's your intention going into the beginning of your broadcast? What's your objective in the game that you're playing? And then there's something that I want to get into later as us being the story within the story. We're the catalyst for the story, and I want to get into that later. So those are just some of the things that I picked up on going from stage to camera, is that how do I bring all of these theatrical elements down to one focal point, and sometimes even changing focus to a different side of the camera so I can interact with my chat a little bit more interpersonal. And then when the big thing from chat has been done, we bring the focus back to the front so that everybody in your audience can see.
That was such a great illustration of why camera presence is so important. Like the whole way that you were telling that story shifted when you went from like this angle to that angle. Do you all think that it's important? Like, I mean, I know that. Okay, now I have like so many other new questions to ask. Okay, because like, you see streamers out there that have multiple camera angles. Like, I just feel like maybe that's something that more people can or should think about exploring, especially if they're because I know, Adrian, when you're fixing like Game Boys or working on things in your room, you change the camera angle and that can give a whole different perspective. Maybe when you're playing the play date, you have it zoomed in on your hands, and like, what does having those different camera angles do, you think, for live broadcasts like what we're doing? Do you think that it's something that people should think about doing, immediately, or do you think it's something that, people should ease themselves into?
I think it's the kind of thing where you have to figure out if it makes sense for what you're looking to accomplish.
Yeah.
So for me, as a handheld gamer, yeah, I can go ahead and just plug it in and capture through emulation. But to me, there's something emotive and passionate about a handheld. Like in my hands, playing this game, I want you to share this experience with me. And I feel like if I'm just emulating it or capturing it, it's not the same, because I can't differentiate from a handheld game. Like obviously graphically, and through the audio you can, but the experience of a handheld is that it's in your hands. So when I go to the overhead camera and I showcase the handheld camera, there's an emotional investment in it. So if you haven't played a handheld, you can see how it operates. You can see how it looks. You can see where the hand motion goes. I think a lot of times that's sometimes the disconnect that can happen even with streaming is as you're doing all of these elaborate combos or dodges and things like that. I like the fighting game players that actually give you a snapshot of their hands on the joystick or on their hitbox, So you can see the level of detail and the thought process that goes into it. You can see them put in inputs that didn't come out because they didn't finish it. Like, oh, I was going to do that, but I didn't. And to me,
Mm-hmm.
with the handheld, you see a person's movements, you see where they're looking, you see what's important. And I feel like all that, it's all emotion. It's a part of the story you're looking to tell with the broadcast. So for me, with a handheld, it's the same thing. It's me inviting you into my home, the experience. And if you've had a handheld experience before, it's suddenly familiar. You go, oh, that's right. I held mine just like that. That was the angle that I was used to. Even like right now, if I swap over cameras to this one right here, then
Oh,
you can see my vinyl player right there. So when I'm doing my wax on wax vinyl show, it's easy to hear the music, but now you can see the vinyl player itself. You can see the vinyl, because to me, vinyl is also emotion and it's attachment. So it's all about how you're looking to capture that. And it's going to take some testing to figure out if it works, if people are receptive to it, but also it's about you setting the stage of, okay, how do I want to do this?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think also the cool thing about the handheld camera is like I feel like I'm right next to you, like, oh, what you playing? I'm looking over your shoulder, like we're in the room together.
That's
And I
exactly what I was gonna say too.
yeah, right? Like
That's on purpose. Yep.
yeah, and it feels that that's how you draw the audience in, right? Because first of all, a lot of people don't do that, so it's unique, and it's like, oh, we're in the same room together. Come on in, hang out with me. You belong here. Let's look at this game together. I love that.
It's something funny about just seeing a pair of hands and not seeing the face and having someone say, hey, did you see that? Wasn't that cool? Because it kind of invokes the feeling of, I have to answer. Yeah, that was cool. I'm right here with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So, Jeremy, I want to know, like, what gave you the idea to do that two camera angle? Like, what inspired you to utilize that as a tool?
Sure. First of all, before I go on, Adrian, I wanted to tack on immersion. You're completely immersing your viewers into what you're doing, just as Ash said, over the shoulder and watching the wax spin. It's just mesmerizing, and that immersion is so crucial. It's so important. I'm so happy that you like brought that up. That's so cool. Yeah.
I
Um,
agree.
yeah, it's really cool. Like I will be honest though, the thing that inspired my two camera angle was because when I used to try to read my chat on the one screen, I had to do this and you couldn't see my
Oh,
face behind my
mm-hmm.
microphone. And then out of nowhere, my parents were like, "Hey, you know, your sister isn't using this TV. Do you want it?" And I'm like, boom, and everything just kind of exploded with this idea that I could put my chat here and I
Mm.
can be fully immersed with what is happening in chat. And my idea was for the multi-camera angle was that this can be a little bit more interpersonal. And so if someone asked me a question, I can answer it here. And then once I'm done with that, I can return back to the whole group and the whole chat. So it becomes this
Oh.
moment of interpersonal immersion. And then of course I could also do the funny things of being like next to you at like a stadium or at like a concert being like, you see this guy?
Hey,
I like
it
that.
was
And just
yeah, it
have
was
fun with it, right? And just make it one of
yeah.
those like funny little things. And forgive me for I want to give a heads up to anybody watching on a giant screen, but then there are those moments where you're just like, what? So all of those little beats are so important, especially when you're working multi-camera. It allows you to change the mood a little bit, allows you to give your broadcasts a change of pace. It also allows you to tell the story from a different angle. You know, if we're playing again, right now I'm playing Chrono Trigger for the first time on broadcast. I've played it before, but I'm playing
Mhm.
it for the first time online.
Right.
And now we're going to be able to have these moments where, oh my gosh, I want to hug Luca so bad.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like those moments are crucial to being, you know, again, the story within the story. So that
Yeah.
multi-camera is a really nice way for your audience to feel like they're participating, that they're part of it, but also in a passive way, it's like multicam sitcom. You know, you get the
Oh
different
yeah.
angle for the joke. You know, you hit the beat.
Yeah.
Like, they always say that tragedy is comedy plus timing. So when
Mhm.
those moments happen, utilize it in a way that is befitting of being like, I what? So even something silly as that, it creates so much more of a connection with your audience, and it also connects them more to me. And that is more fulfilling, that I'm able to connect with that audience.
That is so cool. It definitely also makes me think of when people use like for streamer bot, when they do the zoom ins or like, the little silly like buttons, like that's what that makes me think of too. And you never really think about the method of storytelling in that way if you know, just go online and like, okay, I'm gonna play a game, which that's valid too. But I love this approach because it gives it, I don't know, it gives it something extra, a little extra flavor, personality, and it makes you really think about, your show as a show. And that's a really cool perspective. So I'm so glad that y'all shared that today. And I'm gonna look into doing more of this myself because that had an immediate impact on me, like seriously, even as somebody just like watching y'all. Here's one thing that I do a lot. I am always watching myself in OBS because like you said, everything you do matters. Every second, every little, way you move, the way my hair could be blocking something on my face, like everything matters. And I love that you also called out, Adrian, watching your VODs, watching and air checking yourself. And I know there's a lot of people out there who like, I can't even stand the sound of my voice. I can't look at the video. Like, it makes a difference because then you'll notice subtle things that you do that you're like, oh, how is that translating to the experience of my audience? So I think that that's really important.
Yeah,
It's
one
one
of
of
the
the
things.
early notes.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. We're
No,
the same
no,
person. The same thing.
We really are, yeah. And I was just gonna tack on. I also do voiceover, and I have to listen to my own voice. So, and whenever I danced, I was constantly in front of a mirror. So I had to, get used to that. So watching VODs and listening to your voice and those little things make a difference in you, on your journey to improving and making yourself better.
100% agree. I think sometimes there can be this trap, at least what I've spoken to with some people, of just kind of doing the same thing and hoping that something comes out of it and it grows. But if you're wondering, is your audience engaged? Am I playing this game the right way? Am I hosting the right way? You have to check. You have to take a moment to watch your stream and don't watch it as the same way. I'm so happy you brought this up, Jeremy. The same way you said, read it once for entertainment, read it again with your notes, then read it again backwards. You can do the exact same thing with your VODs. You can watch a half-hour session of your VOD as if you were a viewer. Like, okay, do I find this entertaining to the level of entertainment that I want? What it's looking to accomplish? Okay, now I'm going to watch it back as the broadcaster of, oh, right. Not great. Shouldn't tell that joke. Okay. And then, I don't know if you can watch it backwards, but you're allowed to have the same experience as your viewers. Watch it as a viewer and say, at what point did I find myself entertained? And what things do I want to change? What breaks up the experience of the gameplay? Am I taking my breaks to the right point to say, this is a high octane moment? Should I have stopped to say, hey, welcome back for 3 months in the middle of this? Or could I have waited afterwards? But those are changes you have to make.
Yeah.
That is, those are all things that you got to think about and definitely things to look for. And I mean, of course, there's going to be a different set of rules for VTubing, and there's a whole different set of rules if you don't use a camera. There are things that you probably should definitely focus in on, like your audio quality and the quality of the gameplay and all of those kinds of things. So, but there's a question asked in chat that I think I would love to know. Is the multi-camera switch done on OBS? Or is that something that you control in a different way?
I do it through OBS. I don't know about
though.
Adrian, but I programmed my 2 cameras to go through OBS. So I have one camera set up and then on a separate scene, if you will, the other camera set up in full. And then if I'm gaming, I'll have it set up with, the same camera angle switching, but the game is still there intact. So I'm still able to lean over and do my other camera work while the game is still going on. So yeah, I do 2 different scenes for both of those cameras.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
I also do mine through OBS, and then I push it through to Stream Deck. And then I go even further, and I don't do it right now on Discord, but in my actual stream through OBS, I'll do it from the Stream Deck and then do it through Stream Pedal. Because one of the bad habits that I found when I was watching my VODs was I don't like announcing what's about to happen. The tell comes. So if I'm telling a joke like this, and I want to go over and say, the thing is, my vinyl right now isn't looking so good, let's take a look. When I do that, the button press is coming. And I feel like I can lose the audience when I do that on my stream.
Yeah.
So I switched to the Stream Pedal. So now I can go, hey, actually, my vinyl player today hasn't been looking that great. Let me go ahead and fix it. And then boom, I click down the Stream Pedal, it switches over. And now I leave you waiting on what I'm saying and looking at me and listening versus waiting for me to do this.
Your
entire
transitions
time.
are smooth.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
announce
your
it.
transitions. Yeah, your transitions get really smooth, and I think that just comes with practice.
Oh yeah, true. I
Yeah.
don't have to practice to actually have the dexterity to go. And then button
Yeah.
press, because I will mess up and press the wrong button, and then I mute
Yeah.
myself. And
Yeah.
the joke's gone.
Exactly. Oh
Right.
man, that's so good. I have always thought about getting one of those button pedal things, so I think I'm gonna look into it now. Maybe I'll wait for a sale, but that sounds awesome.
It's a good
Yeah.
way to go. Like, Jeremy, you're a pro. It looks like of the button pressing thing. I can't do it. I will give it away every time. Like, and yeah, how about this? Oh, here comes a joke.
Practice. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times I switched over to my BRB screen.
Oh my gosh. And you're like, no!
Whoops.
Oops. And that's one for the outtakes.
At that point, you gotta stay on that screen.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So the next question I want to ask, because I'm sure a lot of broadcasters deal with feeling nervous on camera. How do you deal with that? Or like if you're hosting in person or doing something on stage, how do you harness that energy? And Adrian, maybe here's where we can go into like some of the nervous or anxious patterns that you have. Tell us a little bit about that. I'm going to start with Jeremy first, and then I'll go to Adrian. So yeah, tell us a little bit about how you deal with the nerves, because I got some stories too for that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll start with stage. There's always going to be butterflies. I have my pre-show rituals. I have my thing before I go out on stage that I do. Like right before I go out, there's always that one thing that I say before the show starts. So those are like nerve calming things. I think depending on the individual, you just have to find it. Some people have a really hard time coping with that, and I think that deals with the individual. It could be history, it could be circumstance, it could be things that happened to you. One of the things that helped me honestly was just full deep breathing. One of the core things that you have to remember is to breathe. Take those moments and settle into it, I guess is where I'm going. So if you really let it settle, you're going to start to feel your body be in touch with what you need to do, what you want to accomplish. Even if it's as simple as pressing the go live button, take that moment to just reassure yourself. And your self-talk is very important. Make sure you have a really good positive self-talk, and just say to yourself your affirmations, whatever they may be, that bring you back to center. The breathing is so important. When it comes to, I guess, tics or quirks, when I started to learn how to rhythm tap dance as opposed to the, big Broadway style, all showy hands and smile, when I started to get really personal about how I tap dance, my right hand used to curl up very nervously because I was concentrating so hard on getting it right that at one point I just had to get out of my own way. And once I did that, everything started to become a little bit more freewheeling. I was able to express myself a lot more honestly and fervently. When it comes to the camera, once I stopped worrying about all the tech stuff getting in the way, I just said, whatever happens, happens. I'm just going to be here to tell my story. So
Mhm.
I feel like getting out of your own way is something that comes with the practice of the breathing and the affirmations. So if I were to tack on like a checklist manifesto for getting over the nervousness or whatever quirks or tics you have, close your eyes, start with breathing, make sure you go from the top to the bottom of your body, just relax everything, reaffirm yourself with whatever it is that you need to for that moment. Take that one last big breath, press the go live button, let your counter hit, or if you're going live right away, just reaffirm yourself that you know exactly who you are, you know what you want, at the core of it all, you know what you need to do.
That is beautiful. Such great advice. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna definitely rewatch that and use that. Oh my gosh, Adrian, what are some of your strategies?
So, my nervous quirk that I had when I was starting off doing interviewing and hosting was I was a foot shaker. I would get comfortable in one position, and a lot of it was the anxiety of just focusing on information and the next thought because my mind's constantly racing and I'm paying attention the entire time. I really am. I can repeat back to you what you just said, but my foot is showing off my brain's activity. So, if I can back up, actually, it looks like this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my brain is just
Yeah.
so. What I used to do after that point, because I watched it back on VOD and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe this is happening to me!" I just learned to. I would grab my foot, and then I would just kind of hold on to it, and it was kind of reassuring to me to say, "You're here on stage. What you talking about? Finish the work." And so over time, I started to relax myself because my foot stopped shaking and I didn't have to hold it down there any longer. But a lot of that nuance came from what I said earlier, prep work. The more prepared I am, the less anxious energy I have too. Because when I first started off, there was always that anxiety of, do I know enough? Do I belong up here? Huge imposter syndrome. Like, I don't belong up here too. Like, what am I doing up here, right? But being reassured that I know what I'm talking about in any given situation. And also, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from Seltzer, Rachel Kiriko, who is elite hosting, still learning from her to this day, was always have your go to questions, like a solid 5 or 10 that you could ask to any person at any given time, just in case your brain blue screens and you gotta reboot temporarily. Those are things that can save you at that time. But for me, it comes down to prep work, and all of my personal anxious energy goes away the minute I go on stage, the minute I'm out there on a couch, or even in a broadcast. I'm so anxious up to that point. Like, but the minute like, and we're live here at Comic Con Chicago, and I go out there and I feel so much better because now I know it's real. Now I know it's happening, and I'm no longer anxious or worried because I can't be anxious because the event's happening. I'm not worried because I prepped, and then I hear the words actively coming out of my mouth. And I'm like, well, that sounds good, and I know because I just watched the VOD to correct the actions. So for me, the prep work is everything
Yeah.
in the process.
Absolutely. I feel you on that. That's why, like, whenever I'm doing these shows, this is probably like my seventh one. I still will go through the same, okay, I got to write the run of show. We're going to create the graphics. We're going to make sure everybody looks good, and it helps me. That routine also helps me to kind of,
Yes.
yeah, routine, right?
Yep,
It helps
absolutely.
you be present, and I'm here, and it kind of sets up your mind for, I know this is going to happen, so this will happen next. It's less of the fear of the unknown, and now I know I'm going to, be present here. So I'm going to tell y'all a little story. When I hosted for GDQ at TwitchCon in Vegas, I was terrified, like so scared, because it was new to me. And there's a lot of complex steps within what you have to do. You have to pay attention to donations. You have to pay attention to the runner. You have to pay attention to the game. You have to pay attention to chat. There's many plates spinning all at the same time. And the good thing is that they are rigorous with their training. So I had the prep work, and there was somebody shadowing me, so that way I didn't feel like, oh, I'm on an island by myself and if something breaks, like, doom. You know what I mean? But still, I didn't want to let the audience down. I didn't want to let the runners or anybody else down. So I was really nervous. But then, as you said, as soon as I put on the headset and I heard my voice on the microphone, I was like, okay, we're good. We got this. We're here. It's happening. It's real. And it's so funny that you expressed it that way, because I was like, that is exactly what I went through. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And I also want to say, with the camera while I'm streaming, I imagine that I'm talking to somebody that I'm very comfortable with. Like, I've met both of you before in person, so it's really easy for me to imagine we're in the same room together and we're talking. And then I think that also gives an impression to the audience as well, because it feels more welcoming. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it has a different kind of approach than if I was just talking to, like, oh, I feel like I'm talking to, like, some strangers or whatever. Like, I want you to feel like we're here together. So do any of you all practice that kind of technique when you're talking to your audience on camera as well?
Adrian, you want to go first?
Oh, yeah.
Sure. That's actually the number one thing that gets me through any interview. And I've interviewed the likes of Ivana Lynch from Harry Potter. I've interviewed CM Punk. I've interviewed Stan Lee. I've interviewed Reggie Fils-Aimé. And my number one tip in my head is they're just a friend. They're somebody I've known for years. You always keep in mind your audience, right? Your audience, the show, the location, and the message you're trying to accomplish. Once you have those parameters set, you get to figure out how professional you have to be. After that point I'm going to lean back a little bit and I'm comfy because I know this person. I've spoken to them before. So instead of being like, because the earlier days it would be like, hey Stan, yeah, it's so cool to have you here. Yeah, that's actually so cool. That's so cool. A lot of so cool. That's so cool. Yeah. I love the comic. Yeah, that's so cool. Instead it's like, I would never speak to either of you like that. Like, that's so cool. Because also in my head, and this is just me, I feel like I'm being unintentionally dismissive because I'm so excited about what I want to speak about. But instead, I can soak in and listen and go, okay, so you haven't made that movie yet? Why? Oh, you made the comic. You haven't made the movie yet. Oh, Stan, you're letting me down. What are you doing? No, it's okay. I want to see it too, but I'm just wondering, what is your process in choosing what gets made and what doesn't? Or is that a part of it? So when I speak like that, you feel the conversation vibe. And it also doesn't let the audience in on what's coming next, not in a bad way, but you keep them on their toes and it keeps the guests on their toes and also helps them relax and it breaks the guard a little bit because I can do things like regular questions they're used to hearing. And at that point, it's like, okay, I put on my armor because I've heard these questions before. I know how to answer them. But if you can interact with something else that's new and nuanced and makes them happy to hear, then it makes them want to be more conversational because, oh, I haven't heard this yet. I want to speak more about that. Like with Ivana Lynch, we had a whole conversation about how before she joined Dawn to Potter, she was actually crawling the message boards and writing fanfic before she even got into the role. And she started telling these embarrassing stories. She was like, I can't believe I'm telling these stories. And I was like, I can't believe you're telling these stories either. This is embarrassing. I would never say this out loud. But it makes the guard come down. Like, this is a fun place. This is a new conversation I can have. So for me, it's just like what you said, is this person I'm speaking with and the audience I'm speaking to, this is nothing new. These are my people. These are my friends. I've spoken to them before, so I'm going to treat the conversation that way unless the event calls for something else entirely different.
Wow. And I'm sure it gives the people that you're talking to a level of comfort where they feel better about opening up to you, you know? Because
Absolutely.
I wouldn't even imagine her telling those stories, and that is awesome.
I didn't expect that, but it was great.
Oh my gosh. What about you, Jeremy? Like, how do you treat, like, I know you talked about the different camera angles and stuff and having that more personal thing, but like, is that something you ever do too? Just like imagine like maybe somebody specific, or, you know, how do you do that?
I'm laughing because now my stage stuff is coming back in into my being. Just to kind of give you the scope of the way that I like handle the audience. I did a one-person show back in 2009, and I was starting to like take pulls from the audience, and then I sat next to my grandfather. I went, "Oh, hi," and I shouted to the audience, "We've never met before." So that's the kind of vibe that I do, is that kind of like get up here with your two left feet humor. I guess for me, I tend to try to visualize my audience. Full disclosure, I keep my viewer count off when I'm broadcasting. So whenever I see chat flowing in a certain way, I want to make sure that even if I don't have any chatters, that I am just as entertaining passively as I am when I'm conversing with somebody in chat. So I visualize my audience in a physical setting. So I let the flow of my broadcast chat dictate my personal venue visualization, if you will. So if it's a slow chat, then it's a smaller venue. It's a little bit more black box. If chat's really picking up pace, then okay, then I'm talking to a pretty good sized crowd. If I've got, a lot of people chatting at once, I'm preaching to this huge Broadway style theater. So I kind of let my energy flow through that and let chat fill that energy for me. So when it comes to trying to visualize who I'm speaking to on camera, everybody is just a name in chat. So depending on what their username is, for me, that tells a story to me. Their username therefore becomes a character or becomes something bigger than maybe that person originally intended with their username, but I give it information just on first seeing it. So now I have this visualization of either a character or a persona that somebody is putting on. So when I switch the camera to speak to that individual person, and let's say Okadrian, it's a positive vibe already. I'm like, Okadrian, how are you today? Nice to see you. So that already informs me of how I wish to converse with that chatter. So handles are really important, at least for me, in understanding how I visualize behind the camera who it is that I'm speaking to. I mean, this took years of getting comfortable with it, specifically with an audience, a live audience. So to transfer that into something a lot more minute in physical form, that's how I visualize it. And it works in tandem with, tell your friends Ash said hi. And I'm like, for sure, absolutely I will. So, it's more of the positivity that I bring with the visualization of the handle of the user that allows me to feel a lot more comfortable. Like Adrian said, you're in the room, you're speaking to a friend, you're speaking to a colleague, and that comfortability informs you and your audience just how easygoing it can be, and just how exciting it can be, and also how dramatic a moment can get, and you share in all of that. So just a couple of those thoughts there.
I love that. I really, really love that. And I also want to call out, so a habit that I have, especially if I'm doing something that's like high energy or new or different, is I tend to get really excited and speak fast. And because of that, my language becomes less intentional. And then, exactly like you said, Adrian, I start saying, "Oh, this is cool," or you get into phrases that you say a lot. And I'm trying to work on slowing down a little bit, so that way I don't say those empty fluff words. I think we talked about this once before. We were like, there's certain words that we need to get out of our lexicon because they don't mean anything or they're repetitive. Do you have any tips or thoughts about that, and being intentional with your language while you're streaming? I'm gonna go with Adrian first on that.
That's so cool. Feels so much like a in between phrasing.
Yes.
It's your thought pause. You're an ummer. I get it. I used to be a that's so cooler. That's so cool. It's not really
see how edited my podcasts are.
Just a bunch of heartbreaks between.
Delete.
Yeah, like me, it's and especially like the New York stuff too. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, man.
I mean,
I
that.
say, yeah, man. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
I'm the same way with you, Ash. And in terms of the more excited I get about what I'm speaking about, the faster my speech will ramp up. And part of that is because my brain accelerates. When we start connecting on a topic, I start getting my next thoughts coming in so quickly. And for me on a personal journey, it's just hard to funnel that, especially if it's an interview versus a host, or even when a raid comes in and I see a bunch of comments, I want to answer all of them. And then as I see a comment, I think of something witty, ready, like a witty repartee. And then another comment. And then I want to say all of them at once. And my brain's like, yo, mouth, catch up. Come on, buddy, what we're doing. And then just like right now, everything speeds up. So it's just part of that came, and this is a personal journey. Part of that came when I was in high school. I was, of course, extraordinarily shy. And I wasn't even capable of speaking like this. And I didn't change that until I got into speech class, in high school. And speech class changed my entire life. And I can't say it's the same for everyone, but speech class taught me to organize my thoughts, to figure out what it is I want to say, to figure out subnotes in case this is said and this is the reaction, what will I say next? And then as I went on stage in front of class, to hear students that I previously had no connection or relationship with respond and or laugh or connect, and I would go, oh, I thought they hated me, and they still might, but on this present day for this topic, now we're connecting on something. And so I had this mindset that even after that, I had to speak faster because I felt like, and it sounds so detrimental to say out loud, but it was true. I have to speed up my speech because what I'm saying is not important, or I feel like they don't want to have me tell this story. And that was a personal truth for me. And so I would go, hey, and the thing is, and then when I got to the store afterwards, I would get the jar of pickles, right? And the jar of pickles were on sale. I speed up because I would watch their face and go, oh no, they're disinterested. They don't want to hear this BS. I have to speed it up. Otherwise, they're going to tell me I'm never going to listen to Adrian again. So I had to train myself like, okay, make this make sense. Whether it's on stream, whether it's hosting, whether it's interviewing, whether it's ring announcing, follow the tones, just like right there, have the pause where the next thing I say makes you want to say, okay, you don't need to speed up. I'm engaged. I'm with you listening. I'm listening to you. I want to hear what comes next. So having that personal journey yourself and figuring out and just making sure it's okay to slow down. We want to hear what you have to say.
Especially when you're on stage too. They've taught us in public speaking class, lock in with that person that is drawn into what you're doing. And you can use them as an anchor to be like, okay, this person is interested. I got at least one person's attention. I can now feel comfortable and then go on with the rest. And then everybody else will feel that comfort, that ease, and that you're commanding, you can command the stage at that point. But yeah, I want to hear your perspective too, Jeremy.
Yeah, speaking with intention, there's a lot to be said in I guess it comes back to storytelling again. That intention, that objective, the why. Why are we doing this? Why are we speaking to these people? I guess trying to think of the best way to put this.
Yeah, I know these questions weren't on our run show, but it's just like this is so much good stuff.
It's a lot there's a lot of advice to give. I guess there is intention in pausing. There is intention with how you address a specific subject matter. There's intention in what we're seeing in the video game or in what we're doing on the screen that gives pause. What gives us pause? What moments do we have to, oh my gosh, switch and allow everybody to feel that, emotional connection or feel that touch of human, raw human emotion, I should say, because it's there. And we can't lose the intention and we can't lose the story in the execution. I guess is what I'm getting at.
Mhm.
So if we're the catalyst for the story within the story, then I guess the portrayal of my character will reflect something immediate depending on what's happening on the screen. When it comes to stage, those moments of interactivity with the audience, should you be able to obtain them, because a lot of times the work that I did, it was all scripted, and musical theater is one of the hardest art forms out there to be able for an audience to what we call willingly suspend their disbelief. I'm going to say that again for those who are not privy to training in musical theater. I feel like an audience's ability to willingly suspend their disbelief has been lost in almost in full to an audience over the past 20 years, maybe more. The advent of reality television, even the advent of a platform like Twitch, where I do not like to say the words content creation, that was a separation of everything related to movies, television, and radio to the internet. And everything is melding now. So this interactivity that we have in storytelling is all blending. And we need to be able to allow an audience to engage and fall freewheelingly into the stories that we're trying to tell. That's not entirely lost on an audience, but it takes a lot of work. And that practice, I feel, comes with knowing where you can find your story. I mean, this mug, I can tell you where I got it, who gave it to me, why they gave it to me, and that tells a story. Why I like to drink seltzer, that's a story in itself. I hold this up, and it tells so many stories for so many people, me included. When did I get it? How old was I? What were the circumstances? So, I mean, there you go. Adrian
we
is
all have our
holding it
Super
around his-
Nintendo
his-
controllers just right next to each other.
Yeah,
Video
this
games.
is the perfect example of the story within the story. The three of us all have our connection to this console, and there's very little to be said when it's, when it used to be a niche market, but now that it's a little bit more mainstream, there's so much more connection to it that we're able to share in that with our audience and with our viewers. I guess the oversaturation of the broadcasting market due to the pandemic led us to believe that this art form is somewhat on its way down. I say nay. What are we willing to work with our viewers to be able for them to come back every time? And it's our stories. It's us being able to say, here's what I had for breakfast, but then this happened. Therefore, this happened. Again, the Trey Parker Matt Stone thing. It all comes back full circle. So for me to talk to an audience is a gift. This is a gift. This technology that we've been given is a gift. And we can't let it fall to the wayside. We're there for our viewers. We're there for our audience, passive or active. It's a crucial way of staying connected, and it's a beautiful way of learning about each other, about caring about each other. Do I know who you are? Do you know who I am? It's that whole Harry Belafonte Muppet Show turn the world around scenario that I'm putting in here, but it's there. If my children can understand that, anybody can. And it's magical.
Wow. I'm learning so much from you all, and I want to address a couple of things in chat. First of all, Reaper, thank you for the 25 bits, but also what Drongo was saying here, because they were inspired to come out of Lurk, and that they took public speaking and it ended helping them way more doing broadcasting than whatever they had to learn that skill for. But I think that there is a lot to learn in public speaking and in improv, I think, if you take any classes in that. And one thing that I aspire to do for the future, for this year, maybe this year, next year, however quickly it can happen, is script ingestion for whenever we have to do sponsorships, because again, to your point, Adrian, preparation will make that delivery so much more natural, so much more like this person's not selling me something and this is not an ad. This person actually feels something about this product or this sponsorship that they're working with. And that is important because, you know, you want to get hired again, and you want to present the product in the best way possible, so that way you gain a reputation and do more work like that. So for me, those are some goals that I have. This is not on the thing, but I'm just curious.
Okay.
Do you either of you have goals in terms of how you may want to improve your camera presence in the future? So I'm going to ask Jeremy first, and then I'm going to ask Adrian. And if you don't have an answer to that question, I understand because I didn't put it on the sheet, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, you know, I think quality of my broadcasts is something that I want to try and improve on, but of course that costs a little bit of money. So there are workarounds, but I do want the quality of my broadcasts to go up. That's a goal that I have. Another goal I would have is sponsorship, period. You know, I have never really done outreach because I feel like, and I think Ash, the other day we were actually talking about this in terms of imposter syndrome that Adrian was bringing up earlier. I feel like I want to earn it. You know, I feel like I want to get to a point where I've reached and plateaued, and now that I've learned everything that I could at this level, now how do I get to the next level? Or what is it going to take to get me there? Like, one of my goals is actually to do exactly what you did at GDQ in Las Vegas. That is a goal for me. I would love to do that and be part of something that is so close to me in terms of, you know, the medical field, having family in that industry. So for me, I think that goals of quality are important, but also a goal of sustainability, of people wanting to return to the broadcast. What can I do to have them come back? What is my to be continued approach? You know, I'm a huge One Piece fan, and we all see to be continued at the end of every single episode, and we all come back. What is my to be continued? Does each broadcast flow into the next one episodically? Is each broadcast a one-off? Am I setting up my momentum properly? So those are just some of the things that I'm thinking about in terms of longevity and viewer retention, or audience retention, I should say. Follower retention. That's something that I'm working on trying to get going as a goal this year. Can I get everyone to come back and have fun again? Because there's so many broadcasters, and yet I'm still competing with movies. I'm competing with television. I'm competing with podcasts. You know, it's not just here on Twitch. It's other platforms. You know, so I'm competing with all of that. So I'm grateful for anyone who chooses. It is their choice to want to come back and see me. And I thank them every time, because of the oversaturation. So my goal is, can I get them to come back after they see to be continued?
Wow, that is really something to think about. Yo, I hope
I think about it every day.
Yeah, y'all in chat, if you broadcast, that is something I definitely am gonna think about myself. And I love, you know, I have a sign above my light here. It says gratitude mindset. And I remind myself of that every day, of thank everybody that for their time. Make sure to show them that they're valued. Make sure to share the impact that they have on you, because you're having an impact on them. So I love that you shared that. But yeah, Adrian, I'd love to hear about maybe some goals you have of improving maybe your camera presence, or how you think about those kinds of camera things for your broadcast.
Jeremy hit it right on the head in terms of I want you to come back. And so for me, and this is something I just introduced at the start of this year, as I was rewatching my VODs, I enjoy me, and I enjoy my presentation, But I started to watch and I wondered, what's different? Because I think streaming is one of the most wonderful opportunities and gifts that we have. And it's something that I've said to different companies, different peoples, at different lectures, is that we have such a grand opportunity in streaming. And that opportunity is everything is happening right now. The most important thing that happens right now is the interactivity we have with chat. You can do a VOD, you can do a syndicated broadcast through cable, you can do something on Netflix if you want to. It's all pre-recorded for the most part. It happened, you're watching it, that's it. And I'm live on Twitch, and just like Bloody came out of a lurk, that is a wonderful experience when someone just pops out of lurk and says, hey, I was just listening, and honestly, I did play Cool Spot on Genesis. Great game. That feels so good because I forgot I said that and you brought it up, but now we can talk about it. And even if you say nothing else ever again, you know that I'm listening to you just like you're listening to me. And that's all to say is when I first got on Twitch and I got partnered, it's because I was doing educational content. I was playing games and then having a review afterwards to say, okay, what did this game teach us? If we're playing Ark, what did we learn about the Carbonemys, the Sarcosuchus? What did we learn about the Tyrant Lizard King, aka Tyrannosaurus Rex? What was the game teaching us? And somewhere over time, I thought, I'm starting to have this disconnect where I'm just becoming the go live and play the game that I want to streamer, which is building a community of great people. But what am I doing that makes me want to come back to my own stream? And so for me, my growing period now is just expanding my portfolio, which is something I started to do. Like one of the new directions I'm taking with my stream is just like I'm doing the handheld overhead camera stream. I've started experimenting with this new idea of what it's like. The show's called Take Me Back, because what I do is I sit down in my chair over there and I position it towards that CRT right there. I bring the camera close and the camera's at a low centered angle right next to me. So you see my hands, my controller, a little bit of my thigh, irrelevant, just picture the framing. And it focuses on the TV, and I'm using the Twitch call-in feature so we can talk as if we're on the couch together playing the game. Because when I grew up, that's what I did. If I was writing a paper with a friend or visiting over their house and it wasn't two-player and it was your turn, you would boot up, you would start playing Cool Spot, Chester Cheetah, Final Fantasy, Nights into Dreams, whatever it is, and just be like, this game is so good. Yeah, this game is really good. You know what it reminds me of? Like, remember when you got those little plastic packs of like Icy, the blue and the red and the green, you bite through that? It's a conversation you start having, and I'm like, man, I miss that connection, because it's different than playing a game and playing Hellblade and having a conversation and responding to chat. But I miss the idea of just sitting down and vibing with someone while playing a game. I like the outside look I like the imperfection. I can capture a game, it looks good, but I like the camera pointing at the TV because that's how I remember gaming looking. And so for me, it's facilitating these new ideas to say, how can I change the approach? Just like reality TV, just like Resident Evil. When you play Resident Evil, these camera angles over here, I'm paying attention because I'm like, where is Chris going? But I know where Chris is going because I'm taking Chris over there. So how can I do that with my stream? How can I have this low angle where someone tunes in and goes, what's this? I'm right next to you. I can call in. So for me, it's finding I've always had my creativity, but bringing it back, doing something different, experimenting and seeing how I can make it grow and be more inviting. So I'm right there with you, Jeremy.
I love that. I love that approach, and I love how you're utilizing the camera angle to make it a lot more immersive, as if, again, you're over the shoulder with your handheld or with the CRT. But I love this idea of sitting next to your friends on the couch.
It's good, right? Like, thank you.
It's
a good memory.
It's a great memory, but also it's something that, again, isn't entirely lost on our viewers, but it is becoming something of a time-honored relic, if you will. So yeah, having that connection is really important, especially on a platform like this. But that's so cool that you get the angle like right behind, as if you're like watching over someone's shoulder, even like at an arcade or something.
Yes.
It's really cool.
Thank you. I have tape down on the floor for the exact place the camera has to be, because otherwise...
Good for you.
I love that. I love that, y'all. And all of these ideas, all of these thoughts, all of your processes. I also want to welcome in the Raiders from It's Tina. Hi, Tina. We're
Yay,
so
Tina.
happy.
Raiders.
Yeah.
Hi, Raiders.
Tina is like the sweetest and the coolest. You got to make sure you give Tina a follow. It's so nice to see you. I hope you had a great broadcast. And for those of you who are just joining us, this is our streamer strategy show where we are talking about camera confidence, camera presence, strategies to feel good and, harness what is going on the camera. And just like hosting and all of that. So, feel free to ask any questions in chat if you have them, but we're really happy to have you here. And of course, we're talking to Adrian and Jeremy, and we're just having a good time. When is the next leg stream? Oh,
Following a leg
dear.
stream.
Oh my gosh.
It's essentially what it is. It's like 15% of leg right there. But it's intentional too, because it's what it feels like next to someone. If you're just laying down on the couch next to him, you see part of the leg there.
Also, I wanted to touch on, like, Adrian said you always wanted to learn something from the games that you're playing. That's why your community is called a classroom. Is that why? Nice.
That's exactly why. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. I'm learning so much lore today. This is great.
I love that too. I'm all about learning. I'm all about process. That's so cool.
Yeah.
There's so much that games can do. I say it all the time. We're still in the infancy of all media. Books have been around since the Epic of Gilgamesh, and music and motion pictures. Gaming feels like it's been around forever. It's like a generation. That's it. It's still baby. So there's still so much we can do and accomplish.
Yeah, Finn, we were talking about that earlier. We were talking about how Adrian streams the handheld, the cam pointed at the handheld. Yeah, I love that too. And also I want to call out, not just you on the camera, but what else is framing you around the camera, right? Like the things in your room, or maybe the borders that you create, the overlay, that can all be a deterrent or an addition to whatever your camera presence is. So those things have to be intentional as well. So for me, when I'm on a game screen, my border is very simple because I know my room is very busy. But also I know, like, when I'm doing like a chatting portion, that everybody's kind of like, where's Waldo back here with all the different things and Bobby and all of that. So is that something that you all also think about as well? Like whatever's in the background, making sure that it's not detracting from you and all of that. Oh, and I'll go with Jeremy first, and then I'll go with Adrian.
Sure. Yeah. I am very intentional with how I do things. Like everything has its place. Everything has its reason for being there. So behind me, instead of showing my video game collection, I actually wanted to showcase my video game literature collection. Because when all of the electricity is gone and all of the lights have been turned off and all we have are books and magazines, that's what we're going to have left of this medium. So I wanted to put video game literature and preservation at the forefront of the why. And again, just to kind of plug my tag for whenever you remember why, everything has a why. What is the why? It's that whole Simon Sinek thing. Find it. What is it? Search for it. And that intention is, again, crucial to how I want to present my broadcasts. All of the literature behind me, if someone mentions Nintendo Power, I can just go right behind. Also, thanks to Ash Said Hi for sending me free issues. Thank you.
That's actually how we met.
This is how we met. And
Yeah.
I reach behind and I will grab whatever volume they're referencing and put it up in front, but it's all there. That is the importance of what we're doing. And that preservation, now so more than ever, is so important. I feel very much responsible for being one of those people who asked Frank Cifaldi in person, what can I do? what is it that I can do? And he said very simply, well, taking pictures of things and finding interviews and finding note cards, anything that pertains to something related to the video game medium, that should be like what you should be looking for. Be on the lookout for that, and then contact us and see if we can include it. So that point of process allowed me to put behind me all of the most important things for my broadcast. When it comes to, you know, a sense of iconography, I've got I know in how Ash has this set up, but over here I have Sonic, Mario, Goku, the Straw Hat flag, the Jolly Roger. Along with the Straw Hat, I've got the Darksaber. I've got a little bit of things that I'm into when it comes to pop culture-y stuff, but the way that I dress is now very important and just as much a part of the broadcast. I now have, in a sense, a uniform. When Ash met me, she met me wearing this blue shirt. And then I have a differentiation in white or orange or yellow for the undershirt. And I'm wearing a different hat depending on what I'm broadcasting. So all of this tells a story. It's all intentional. So every time I broadcast, I'm wearing this blue shirt. Whenever I go to a convention, I will be wearing this blue shirt and a cap. So when people need to find me, they know where I am. They can spot me. And I want that to be just as intentional off screen as it is on screen. So yes, everything tells a story. And it also makes me recognizable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like when you can't always address everything, you know, when you can't always stop and talk, and people are there to lurk, or they're there, like maybe they found your channel for the first time, that whole visual of whatever they see, like, can inform them and just help them decide, oh, you know, is this something, am I curious about this? What's going on here? Why does this person have this set up the way? Like, Adrian, what is that TV that you have behind there? What's on it? Tell me about that. Because you got a different game on there every time. And I'm always like, yo, I love that. I love that.
It's Jeremy again hit the nail right on the head. It's about storytelling. So what I'll do is, I don't have it set up this way right now because I'm changing out TVs, but the games that I have behind me, like, I'm not doing it right now because we're on front page and doing different stuff, and I don't want to distract what's happening on the behind me. But when I go live on my channel, both those TVs are playing something, and that speaks to my roots of when I got my first job. I worked at Babbage's, now known as GameStop, which always have in-store plays, and that's my happy place. So these are my in-store plays. And what happens is, a lot of times when I'm playing a game, like I'm playing Final Fantasy 16 or 14, used to, I might have a Final Fantasy 6 going on in the background behind me, or a Final Fantasy 13 playing the attract screen, because it's relevant to what's happening right now on the screen. Every now and then, too, I'll drop little hints about what's happening into my life. So I'm in a video game called WrestleQuest as an in-game character, and I actually had wrestling games on behind me when I told the stream, you know what, I'm under NDA right now, but I'm telling you all right now, I'm involved in a project that is so exciting. I can't speak to it, but your boy might be in a video game very, very soon. And this is like a lifelong dream coming true. I never thought it would happen. I can't really tell you what it's going to be, but I'm really excited for whenever this takes place. And right behind me, 2 wrestling games playing on the TV. And I was not playing a wrestling game that day, but I was yapping about it. And someone else later on said, oh my God, you had wrestling games on your TV when you announced it. And I said, oh, you were paying attention. Because everything like that is, like Jeremy said, it's intentional. Like, there's another game key coming up pretty soon that I can't talk about, but if you watch my TVs in the next few days, you may watch it on TV and go, that doesn't line up with what he's playing right now. It's a storytelling device, and everything behind me tells a story too. If I get gifts from people, they showcase right there. I like people asking questions about, what is that? So I have my vinyl collection right there. It shows what I'm listening to right now. But also you have this over here. And that is not a game character. That is Spooter-chan, which was made by one of my friends. And they are an outstanding artist. They're called Pots, affectionately. They did some stuff for Netflix's Castlevania. And what had happened was, long story short, I was streaming PlayStation 3. I was doing college football, where I rename all the students, athletes after subs. So all the subs are essentially playing college football on game, which means they can track how well they're doing over time. I'm the lead quarterback. It gets them excited to play along. My PS3 kept like malfunctioning. So the game would freeze or it would stop. And I told everyone, look, I don't know if this is relevant, but I saw a spider in here recently. And it went to my PS3. I haven't seen it since. But now my PS3 doesn't work. So a lore was created about Spooter-chan. And then for the holidays, they sent me that plush and said, that's the spider who's living in your PS3 causing it to malfunction. But that's a fun story to tell. So now when the PS3 doesn't function, I can say, uh-huh. You know what time it is.
Oh my gosh.
I
That
love
is
that.
so cool. And you're building stories with your audience. And oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I just love that. And it'll create those little fun moments, those clippable moments. You know what I mean?
That's the community, I think, in building community on Twitch is having the stories. So when someone new comes in and everyone's saying, oh, Spooter-chan, or is Spooter-chan back there? You're wondering, what is Spooter-chan? Now you want to find out, and now you're a part of the community, now you're a part of the story.
Oh my gosh, that is so smart, Adrian. I love that. I love it so much. And I love that y'all talked about, like, for me, I know, Jeremy, you're talking about your shirt, right? Like, everybody knows me and my video game shirts, right? Like, oh, Ash got a shirt for everything. She's playing this game. How she get a Afterburner shirt or like a Breath of Fire shirt or whatever? But that's a part of the storytelling too for me, right? You know, like everybody knows, oh, Ash is this, or like, oh, she's got a character for everything back there. You know what I mean? Like, that is a part of it. And I love that y'all brought that up. And I love that you talked about like all your little, you know, your little stories about you and your inside jokes, and especially announcing the wrestling game. And then it's like an Easter egg. You know, gamers love Easter eggs.
Yep.
That's exactly what that's like. Oh, that's so cool. Oh my gosh.
You know what? She's in chat right now, but Tina does the same thing. Has a little camera that moves around called Tiny, and has a whole story about Tiny being operated by this little mouse. And she actually has emotes now of this mouse created, and everyone knows who Tiny is when Tina speaks about Tiny, and now it's a part of the creation process. Like, you just, there's so much opportunity on Twitch to create stories and to create backgrounds and to create these moments. It's just, I think it takes a moment to just stop yourself and go, okay, what can I do? What do I want to do?
Tina, that's such a great idea.
Right.
I love it. I love it. That
I
is a
love
great
that.
idea. Yeah.
Tina's so good.
I know. I love Tina's channel. Oh, she's so great. That is really cool. And you know what? All of these lovely stories and all of these techniques and things that you're talking about enforces in me that streaming is such an incredible opportunity. Like, every time I think about going live, it's like, how am I going to harness my potential for the day? You know, I think about that all the time. And I love like this conversation that we're having because it really illustrates that. There's so much we can do. There's so many stories we can tell. There's so many ways we can connect with our audience. There's so many great memories we can create. There's so many first-time gameplays we can have. Like, I was watching Adrian play like all the Steam Next Fest demos yesterday. And you know what? You know what's funny? This is a side note. Sorry from our conversation. When that game you were playing, it started popping up on my Twitter feed. So I was like,
Fluffy?
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was
Jeremy,
like,
you've got to play this game. It's so
it's
good.
so good.
What is it called?
It's a fluffy fun time adventures. I'm not Googling right now to find out. I'm totally thinking of it on the spot. It's called Fluffy something. I can't find it.
It's
Okay, it's
really,
Fluffy something.
yeah. It's like
Chat,
one of the
anything?
Steam Next Fest demos. So it came up on my Twitter feed. Hold on, I'm gonna see if I can find it too. But yeah, all of those opportunities that we have to connect with people, it makes me feel the magic that we're doing today. So I know we're coming up on our hour and a half soon. If anybody has any questions in chat, feel free to drop them in. But before we go, I want to also talk about maybe just a little bit with like lighting and technique. Is there anything there that you utilize to help you tell the story, like maybe technology? Because I know there's one person that I love. Her name is Nimbly, and she's so good.
Hmm.
She taught me the magic of understand like she said that she gained her inspiration of her lighting from Star Trek the original series. And if you watch that show, the way that they light the faces with like the purple or the green lighting or like the solid color background or like the softness around the camera, you can absolutely see those inspirations. So, is there any kind of technique in like lighting or anything technical that you utilize to help enhance your camera work? And I'm going to start with Adrian and then go with Jeremy, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm doing, most recently, the Take Me Back CRT streams, I try to emulate the warm feeling of what it was like for me growing up in the living room. So I avoid using blues, magentas, greens, like the backlighting purple that I have right now. I avoid using whites, and I try to focus on mostly like an incandescent style lighting because to me that reminds me of the warmth of the living room that I was in or the basement I was in with my friend. And also, that kind of lighting is soothing. It's not as attacking as you would have from a natural blue tone light. And so that's very intentional. So that when you come in, the feeling of being next to me is right there. It's the same thing with the handheld. With the handheld streams, the only lighting source I really have is like the overhead light, just a little bit, and everything else is muted. And that's so your focus is right there, center of the camera. Nothing else is happening is going on because that's how I feel when I play a handheld. My focus is right here. My peripherals are active, so I'm staying focused. But I'm locked in on this one area. I actually saw an animated comic on Instagram about how some people will never know the troubles of what it was like to grow up with the Game Boy and driving at night and having to wait for the street lamps above to pass over when your Game Boy arrives. And
Yup.
so I try to emulate that too when I do my handheld streams. I don't make it go on and off, but this is your singular light source for this handheld. So I think there are ways you can manipulate feelings, intent, and all that with your lighting rather than just having gamer RGB, which isn't a bad thing if that's what you want to do and that's your feeling that you want to have because it's what you saw. Yeah, but try a new angle, try new lighting. Like NIMS, I love NIMS setting. Like when I go to the NIMS stream, I just instantly feel so relaxed. Like the plant life, like the choice in the floral that NIMS wears, it feels so soft. Like the entire
Yeah.
setting of the stream always feels so soft. Nothing about it
Mhm.
ever feels harsh. NIMI could be playing Hotline Miami, and I would never realize it
For real.
because of the way
Elden
the
Ring.
presentation. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
I gotta
It's
check
true.
them out.
Yeah, Nim is really, really awesome. I love her so
Nimbly,
much.
correct?
Nimbly,
Nimbly?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Also, I put the link to the demo Ruffy in chat so you can
Yep.
check it out.
Oh,
But yeah,
excellent.
yeah. So, anything with your technology, Jeremy, with lighting or anything like that that you do to help enhance your camera work?
Yeah, I never really gave it too much thought. I think one of the first conversations I had with you, Ash, a couple of years ago was how do you get your broadcasts to look so bright and pristine? And you just told me I have like 2 or 3 lights behind my camera to make it like nice and bright. But that's kind of what I did. I actually, right after we had that conversation, I bought a second ring light so that I could put a little bit more onto me. So I mean, I have these 2 lights that I have 2 switches here, and I'm able to kind of readjust depending on what it is that I'm requiring that day. But I don't think I've really given it too much thought. I feel like if the lighting is there and it allows for whatever it is that I'm conveying, I don't really want to touch it. I would rather it kind of flow throughout. I also, in the space that I'm occupying, don't really have a lot of necessary means of hanging like tube lights or things like that. So my lighting is unfortunately pretty limited.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to uh what I'm intending to do, if it's something where I'm standing up behind me and doing like tap dancing on my tap board back there, I'll brighten the lights so that it can reach back there. If I'm going to be primarily on this camera, I'll move one of my ring lights behind it so that it can shine a little bit brighter depending on what it is, the subject. If it's a just chatting, I'll do so, but if it's like a normal gameplay thing, I'll leave the two lights behind here where I have them. So, in in terms of storytelling, not necessarily on my end, but I'm always intrigued in seeing how people produce their lighting. Like a lot
Mm-hmm.
of broadcaster that I've seen have dark backgrounds and they are fully lit in the forefront, or everything is kind of washed in the same light, whether it be from overhead or not. But I do want to check out Nimbly and see how
Yeah.
they manipulate their lighting. I'm always intrigued, and and this is for everyone listening. One of the greatest things that I've ever learned is, as a gamer looks at 40, I never want to stop learning. And
Mm,
Adrian said this before as we were like prepping for everything. I never want to stop learning either.
yeah.
I'm always looking for a new way to do something, or I'm always looking for a new reason to do something. Everything has a purpose behind it. So I guess purposeful lighting could be added to a goal of mine for either this year or next.
Yeah, I would think about it. Like, I'll give an example of something I learned in school in photography class. Like, this is why whenever you see like a show and someone takes a flashlight and lit lights underneath their face, it looks like monster lighting because all of the
Mhm.
shadows are like really stark in your face, so you have this kind of like ghoulish, evil,
Mhm.
like sinister look. And if you were deciding maybe you want to have like a scary night and you want to play scary games, that could be a interesting way to do some lighting, maybe for Halloween. I know Adrian doesn't do scary games. Adrian does
Nope.
hard games, which are
Yep.
scary in itself, depending on the game.
I don't do spooky games either.
Yeah, no,
My
thanks. Me
heart can't
neither.
handle it.
I can't. But yeah, you never know. Like even when you switched your light, Jeremy, I don't know if you notice it, but the different temperatures definitely give a different vibe. Where like, cold lighting versus warm lighting, they can all have a very intentional impact depending on how you want to portray things. And somebody that I know, I'm going to shout out my very good friend Amiga Bill here. He has 4 Emmys in camera work and lighting and stuff like that.
What?
Yeah, he's really, really amazing. And he always puts on Instagram like all the different lighting techniques that he does and like how when he works with like different actors and stuff like that, like all the different ways that he films. And I've been learning a lot from that. And it absolutely works for photography as well. But, we're doing this stuff with camera stuff every day. So I think like anything, if you want to learn any photography techniques and stuff like that, it can absolutely help you with your camera presence online. So
Yeah.
yeah, just wanted to shout that out. So thanks for letting me talk about that too. And then we have a couple of questions in chat. I don't want to go too much over time because we've been here for an hour and a half. But Drongo wants to know how do you, I'd love to know about the experience and how you can make the segue from broadcasting into hosting and more IRL style events. So I'm going to actually ask Adrian on that first, if that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I feel like if you want to go from broadcasting into hosting, you you have one of the best resources in the entire world right now, and a lot of folks don't realize it, which is your channel. You can start hosting right now. And the best part is that when you start hosting right now on your channel, guess what? Just like Jeremy said earlier, you're your own executive producer. You're your own director. You get to dictate your own show, the flow, the guests you want to have, the prep work you want to involve yourself with. If you're creating your own graphics, what are those graphics going to be? And how you prep all of that is very important. Because when you start doing that, that develops your demo reel. Fun fact, that's how I got started. I saw people hosting and interviewing outside of this space, and I thought, I want to do that. So the first thing I did is I started hosting little shows on my little small baby Twitch channel, showcasing that I could do this talent. And so when I said, hey, Twitch, I see you doing these little shows, I feel like I can do that and a part of that. Well, have you ever hosted before? No, but I do interviewing on my channel. Check this out. so I can send them clips showing this is what I'm available to do. And it turned into a thing of saying, okay, it looks like you can do that. We can probably give you like one panel at PAX South if you'd like to. It's just an unpaid thing. You can hop on and talk about this game since you seem to know a lot about it. You want to do that? And I said, I would love to do that. Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, can you be here at PAX South just to do it? Yeah, I'll be there. I had no plans to be there. I had no ticket, but I got a ticket and I found a way to be there. I drove the entire night, 14 hours straight, and slept in my car. But I did it to do it. So right now, if you want to get into hosting, interviewing, watch what you see on TV and then practice at home too. I feel like when I was first starting off, there's a bit of, and maybe Jeremy, you can elaborate on this too, is this feeling of when you learn to practice for stage at home. For me at first, I felt so silly and ridiculous being in front of a mirror and doing the whole, hello everyone, welcome to PAX South. I'm Adrian. But then doing that, I started to watch and go, oh, I don't want to do that there. I don't even want to do that on my broadcast when I'm streaming. Okay, let me sit up straight. Let me try it again. Hello, everyone. Welcome to PAX South. I'm Adrian. That's not bad. Okay, how can I? Okay, put the camera up, adjust the angle, go up in here. Hello, everyone. My name is Adrian. Welcome to PAX South. We have an extraordinary day lined up for all of you right here. I'm so happy you arrived. It's my first PAX South. It's probably your 7th. But no matter how many times you've been here, the show remains the same. And you start doing all these motions, and you start improving on your own channel. And that invites other people in there because people, I think, want to see the effort you put forth, not just for opportunities in the future, but collaborations too. So I'm always going to be down to do stuff with Ash, but if I didn't know Ash, it's easier to go on Streamer Strategies when I see 9 episodes and go, oh, look who's been on there. That's an all-star cast. So like if they're on there, I'm like, this is legit. Even if it starts off with this person to this person to this person, now I want to be a part of that because I see the work. So for you want to get in hosting, follow the steps, do your own show. And after you do it, watch your show and don't compare yourself to somebody else, but watch broadcasts of hosting events and saying, okay, what are they doing that I feel like I can put into my own stuff? When are they pausing? When are they telling stories? 'Cause a lot of hosting is storytelling, keeping people interested in what's coming next and why I should keep tuning in and what just happened. Constant reminders. So do that and you'll be all right.
Oh my gosh. That was such great advice. It made me also think about the story. I don't know if you told me this story, but when Cup and Noodle used to do it too in the beginning, like just get your cell phone, record people,
Yes.
interview with them, be on the street, practice that skill, practice. And just to go hand in hand with what you were saying, first of all, thank you for the compliments on the show, but also Drongo, like I use sessions like this when I fill out like a panel for PAX or TwitchCon or whatever. I put this link and I say, here's an example of me hosting. This is my ability to run a show. This is how I set everything up, how I source talent, how I do this, how I do that, you know, and think about it from a holistic, from start to finish, because then they're going to trust you with, oh, this is not just some person that just wants to be on stage and get attention. Like they are bringing production value, they're bringing intention, they're bringing their thoughts and doing this intelligently and strategically. So those are ways. Start doing it on your own channel, because like y'all said, harness the opportunity, do it now. So sorry Jeremy, I didn't mean to cut in before you, but do you have anything to add on that topic?
Yeah, not necessarily in terms of hosting, but I think in terms of trying to get out of your comfort zone. I always try to tell people to take a dance class or take a singing lesson or go to an acting class or even try improv. Get out of your comfort zone. Get out of what you feel like is holding you back and just take risks. You're going to be in places where there is no judgment. And that, I think, further helps you to get out of the mindset of I can't. Always say that you can be positive. That self-talk, again, is very important. But yeah, there's always an opportunity to try something in terms of an acting class or a dance class or taking a singing lesson, something, anything that gets you on your feet and allows you to be a little bit more artistic, if you will. That helps so much with what Adrian was talking about. allowing yourself to get in there and just try new things and switch the angle of the camera, fix how your posture is, just shake it out. Where is your neutral zone? How do you stand? Where are my hands at? Where are my hands? What are they doing? Like, that is the biggest, like, first thing I teach people who want to get into acting. What are your hands doing? You know, allowing yourself to find, even locally, any little acting troupes or any improv troupes. Those are great because they allow you to just wash all of that away and feel comfortable in your own skin. And that also helps you to understand a little bit about who you are even more. And it's so fulfilling.
Absolutely.
So that would be my angle to hosting, I guess, is to just kind of, you know, get out of the mindset that you can't because you can.
Yes. Yeah.
I was
you
just
know,
gonna say I'm so happy you mentioned improv.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go
My
ahead,
wife is-
Adrian.
My wife
Yeah.
is much better at it than I am.
It's just so, I feel like so much of not hosting a little bit, but interviewing for me is all improvisation. As much as prep work is important, it's not always going to go to your little sheet you have right there. And all the notes you have in the world won't prepare you when someone else is going to go that way instead.
Yeah.
I was interviewing Michael Cudlitz from The Walking Dead, Abraham, and
Yeah.
he was disinterested on being on stage because it was probably a long day. And so after a while, the questions weren't lining up, and he was just like, man, well, on this headset's not working out. Is your headset working? My headset's working. Are you tired, bro? Yeah, it's been a long day. Let's talk about Comic-Con instead. Talk about that nacho stand. Did you eat at that nacho stand? I wouldn't eat there, would you? No, dude, it's like $20. But now we're just doing something else completely unrelated to the entire interview, but it doesn't matter because I know beforehand there's nothing to promote. There's no story to tell. So if it goes off the rails and you want to talk about the $20 nachos at C2E2 instead, we can do that. And guess what? The audience is entertained. So improvisational skills are so key. And it can help if you're just finding yourself to be too overly dependent on a script or coming across as overly saccharine.
Yeah.
Some part of that is also over prepare and go with the flow.
Yeah.
If you feel like you've prepped enough, you could just ease into it.
Yeah.
100% agree.
Or if your brain does what it does to me all the time, which is just like blue screen error, and you're like,
Ash said hi.exe has crashed.
yeah. One thing I also want to say, I saw this recently on social media. It said, "Don't boo yourself off the stage before you start performing." And that was like, I remember that because I feel like a lot of people do that. They boo themselves off the stage before they even start. And it's whether I'm not good enough, or am I interesting, or are people going to care about this conversation? You know, like all of those questions, it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, the people are going to decide that whenever you're doing what you're doing, but don't set yourself up for those expectations. Just go into it and be present in the moment. So I wanted to share that. But before we close out, I want to know, is there any other final advice that you want to leave the audience with before we go? And, I'm going to let y'all go. I'm probably going to continue streaming, but I'm going to let y'all go. Anything else you want to share? And I'm going to go with Jeremy and then Adrian.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so much that I would love to say to everybody because everyone has the potential to be a better version of themselves than yesterday. Our tomorrows are never promised. So whatever you're given with the gift of today, just make it worth your while. Try something new. Just get out of that comfort zone. And if you're older like me, remember that the cool kids love it when you clap on 2 and 4. So that's another piece of advice. I think for me, the true measure, this is a Samuel L. Johnson quote that I'm gender neutralizing, but the true measure of a human being is how they can treat someone who can do them absolutely no good. And you have to do that for yourself. Get out of your own way. A little transparency. I went through a year and change of therapy. I went through a rough patch. And, you know, I'm not advocating that therapy's for everybody, but there are things that I learned about myself in my time there that helped me to just breathe and just get out of my own way and know that everything will fall into place as intended. This imposter syndrome where I feel like I need to earn it. I do it every day. Did I earn the sunset? These are just little things that go on through my mind, at least, that I reaffirm for myself that I'm not just doing it for myself. I'm doing it for my family. I'm doing it for my children. I'm doing this because I love to tell stories. I love to entertain. I was born to the sound of this, another story for another time, but like, there's so much that you have to offer. You're worth it. You're always worth it. I would love to hear your stories. I would love to learn from you. I'm an advocate for human rights. I'm an ally in the best possible way. I want to learn. I want to learn from you. I want to be able to educate myself so that I can learn from you. Do that for each other. Let's put it this way. I end every broadcast with take care of yourselves and each other. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the best advice that I can give to you. And again, clap on 2 and 4. It's cool for the kids.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Adrian, any last things you want to share with the audience?
You know, I think back to, if you ever seen Men in Black, which is now an older film, funny to think about, unfortunate. There's a series of lines that Tommy Lee Jones's character says to K, or from K to J at the time. And although this is not the correct order of the lines or even the right lines, I get the idea of it. Which is, 2,500 years ago, we knew the Earth was flat. 150 years ago, we knew it was impossible to transmit voice from one side of the country to the other. And 5 minutes ago, you knew you were alone on this planet. Imagine what you'll know tomorrow. And so for me, I think of myself the same way. Whereas years ago, I knew that I couldn't speak in front of an audience. I knew no one had value in what I wanted to say. I knew I couldn't stream in front of people on the internet. I knew that I'd never be on the grand stage in front of a PAX. I knew I'd never be in front of 1,000 people. I knew I'd never speak to celebrities. I knew I'd never be up next to my peers that I just idolize. I knew I would never live out my dream of being in a professional wrestling ring to call some of the best superstars to come out there. I knew that would never happen. And now I'm standing here. Oops, I was wrong. And I think back to the Derrick Rose basketball player who said about MVP of the league, he's like, and it was laughable at the time. He said, why can't I be MVP of the league? He was saying in a press conference, and there was like scoffs. And he was like, why can't I be the best basketball player in the league? And if you look at the success of Twitch and the random streamers and the random hosts and everything else, why not you? Why not you watching right now? The person who asked the question about getting into hosting, why not you? I've seen so many different hosts and talk show hosts and interviewers. I've seen so many different styles, and I've seen a lot of the same styles. I've seen people flourish, fumble, recover, never recovers. We saw, God, what's the actor's name? Homeboy from one of the greatest films of our time, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, who was in Indiana Jones, had a 30.
Ke Huy Quan.
Thank you, Ke Huy Quan, had a 30-year saga of I'm washed. It was Indiana Jones, and I peaked and came back and won an Academy Award for one of the best films I've personally seen in my entire life. Why not you? It's not over for you. I did hosting, and then I stopped doing a little bit of hosting, and then I did interviewing, and I thought I'm washed, and I did the professional wrestling thing. Every year is a new opportunity to come back and grow for something. So I just think the message from me out there for all you watching is, why not you? Because it can be.
That's great.
I'm gonna let that sit for a second.
Mhm.
That was fantastic from both of you. Yeah. I feel so many of the same ways that you both have said. I want to share with people. I want to connect with people. I want to learn from people. And also the moments of well, I see all these people doing really cool things. Why can't I be one to do them too? You know? Did you ever think you were going to host TwitchCon? You know what I'm saying? Like the whole of it? Did you ever think that you were going to get to interview X, Y, and Z person? Like, right. And I think about that all the time.
If I could say really quickly,
Yeah.
that's why it's so important to build good foundations and friendships, to surround yourself with good people, because there are people that I knew 8 years ago who were just little baby streamers like me, who some people just didn't want to talk to because they felt like maybe they weren't important enough. You know what they're doing right now? Developers of AAA studios, marketers, researchers, in office, making consoles, working at high-tech corporations. And you know what they remember? The friendships that got them there, the people who helped carry them along the way, because you surround yourself with good people and you're not doing it in the interest of what can I get out of this. People grow in this space quickly and they remember who was nice to me.
Yep.
Be a good
Yep.
person.
Yep.
Kindness goes a
Exactly.
long way.
It's so easy. It's so easy to just be a good person to the people around you. Like it costs nothing. It takes nothing. Like I agree with you. And people remember that. They remember. And I always tell people too, tell your friends the things that you love and are interested in, because you never know what they might know or who they might know or what they might want to work with you on together. Like, yeah, agree. Well, thank you so much for such a rich and incredible 2 hours of just knowledge and experience and everything really incredible about what it is to be a creator here on Twitch. Please tell everyone the next time you're streaming where they can find you, and anything you want them to know about you before we go. I'm gonna, after you all outro, I'm gonna go to a screen. We're gonna take a short break and I'm gonna let them go, and then we'll get into some Super Nintendo games. But Adrian, go first, and then Jeremy, close out.
Just love how New York you are. Some people in
Yeah.
video games,
Yeah.
Video
Hearing
games.
it.
That's
Video
right, video games.
My name is OK Adrian. You can find me on. Actually, don't go there anymore. I'll be on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
I'm on there as OK Purview. That's the name of my product, OK Purview. I'll be found as OK Adrian on Twitter, on Threads, on Tumblr. I love Tumblr. Conversation for a different day. And on Twitch, twitch.tv/OKadrian or okpurview.com. I will be streaming next tomorrow. I'm doing a Balatro tournament with President Noir, Pleasantly Twisted, and J-Rock the God for Black History Month. We're doing Blackatro, which is a creation from President Noir. And
Nice.
I say this with all sincerity, I'm going to do horribly. I just beat my first game of Balatro like 3 weeks ago, and I've never spent that long on a roguelike. I had so many defeats before I finally won. I'm getting sidetracked. Whatever. Go there, OK Adrian on all socials. If you have things you want to ask, come onto the stream and just ask. That's what being an ambassador is all about. It's cultivating and building strong communities and connections. So come through. Thank you, Ash, for having me, and Jeremy, it's great to see you.
Thank you. Jeremy, tell them all about you.
Sure. Well, first, before I begin, Adrian, it was so nice to meet you tonight as well, and I'll definitely be around for your broadcasts. And Ash, thank you so very much for allowing me to help other people who want to make their broadcasts better. This has been an honor. Thank you. Well, everyone, my name is Jeremy Lardiri. I am the Nostalgia Alchemist, and I am always here for whenever you remember why. If you Linktree the Nostalgia Alchemist, everything that I have to offer pops up. Everything from my Twitch to my podcast that you can get on pretty much any platform where you get your choice of podcasts. All of my social medias are on the link tree. The next time I am broadcasting here on Twitch will be this Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern for more Chrono Trigger. So that is going to be the next time I am broadcasting. Again, this is just one aspect of what I do. I am also part of SAG-AFTRA. I have a very storied semi-pro career on the stage that I am very proud of. I love to tap dance. I love to have any kind of conversation about theater and the arts and entertainment. So please hit me up on any platform, and I can't wait to hear from you, learn all about you, and I will see you around the internets. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So I'm gonna go to a ending screen for this show, and then we'll get into some video games. But thank you so much to my guests. I really appreciate you all, and I hope you all have a good night. Bye, y'all. Bye.